Hi kids, welcome back to my class. So kids, are you ready for the new chapter? Good. So begin with the energy. Chapter number 9, the future tense. Are you ready kids? Let's start. Pick the actions which will take place in future. Here are some pictures and the actions. Reading a newspaper, went to the market, it will rain. So kids, you have to take the actions which will take place in the future. Now, let's begin with part A, future tense. The future tense is used to talk about actions that have not yet occurred that are planned for times to come. Like the present tense and the past tense, the future tense also has 4 forms. I know kids, you know them. Simple future tense, future continuous tense, future perfect tense, future perfect continuous tense. Let's see simple future tense. Formation of simple future tense. Affirmative, negative, interrogative and negative interrogative. I shall visit. I shall not visit. Shall I visit? Shall I not visit? Students, read this table carefully. Affirmative sentences. The affirmative sentences are formed by using shall, will with the main verb. Example, I shall invite her. Negative sentences. The negative sentences are formed by placing not after shall or will. Example, I shall not invite her. Interrogative sentences. The interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall, will before the subject. Shall I invite her? Negative interrogative sentences. The negative interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall, will before subject and not before verb. Like, shall I not invite her? We use shall for I and we. We use will for second and third person. You, he, she, they. Often will is also used for I and we. The question form for I and we is always shall I or shall we. Now students, see the uses of simple future tense. The simple future tense is used to describe actions that have not yet taken place or that are planned for time to come. Example, the election will take place in November. To express a plan that has been made, like the school's annual function will take place on Tuesday. Now, here we have an exercise filling the blanks with the simple future tense form of verbs given in the bracket. First, she will visit her grandparents next week. So in this way, do the rest by yourself. Future continuous tense. Formation of future continuous tense. I shall be coming. I shall not be coming. Shall I be coming? Shall I not be coming? So students, read this table carefully. And now, affirmative sentences. The affirmative sentences are formed with shall, will plus be plus ing form of verb. Example, I shall be leaving for Guwahati tomorrow. Negative sentences. Negative sentences are formed by putting not after shall, will and before be. Example, I shall not be leaving for Guwahati tomorrow. Interrogative sentence. The interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall, will before the subject. Example, shall I be leaving for Guwahati? Negative interrogative sentences. The negative interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall, will before subject and not before be. Example, shall I not be leaving for Guwahati? Now it's time to see uses of the future continuous tense. The future continuous tense is used to express about an action that will be going on at later time. Example, he will be hosting the party at this time on Tuesday. To ask polite questions about the future. Will you be joining us for the picnic? Now, we have filling the blanks. Filling the blanks with the future continuous tense form of the verbs given in the bracket. First, next Monday, he will be joining the new school. So, in the same way, do the rest blanks by yourself. Now, next is future perfect tense. Formation of the future perfect tense. Look at this table. I shall have painted. I shall have not painted. Shall I have painted? Shall I not have painted? Now, affirmative sentences. The affirmative sentences are formed with shall, will plus have plus past participle form of the verb. Like, I shall have returned. I shall have returned. Negative sentences. The negative sentences are formed by placing not between shall and have. Like, I shall not have returned. Next is interrogative sentences. The interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall before subject. Example, shall I have returned? Now, negative interrogative sentences. The negative interrogative sentences are formed by putting shall, will before the subject and not after it. Example, shall I not have returned? Now students, let's see the uses of future perfect tense. The future perfect tense is used to talk about actions that will be completed by a particular point of time in the future. Example, in 1 hour, I shall have reached Kolkata. Now, filling the blanks with the future perfect tense form of the verbs given in the bracket. First, by the time Rohan comes, I shall have finished my homework. In this way, do the rest by yourself. Now, let's move on to future perfect continuous tense. Formation of future perfect continuous tense. Read this table. I shall have been waiting. I shall not have been waiting. Shall I have been waiting? Shall I not have been waiting? Read this table carefully. Affirmative sentences. The affirmative sentences are formed with shall, will, plus have, plus been, plus ing form of the verb. Example, I shall have been reading my book. Negative sentences. The negative sentences are formed by putting not after will, shall. Example, I shall not have been reading my book. Interrogative sentences. The interrogative sentences are formed by placing will, shall before the subject. Example, shall I have been reading my book? Negative interrogative sentences. The negative interrogative sentences are formed by placing shall, will before the subject and not after it. Example, shall I not have been reading my book? Next, uses of future perfect continuous tense. The future perfect continuous tense is used to express an action or an event that will progress over a period of time which will end at a point of time in future. Example, by next March, he will have been teaching here for 5 years. Now kids, filling the blanks with the future perfect continuous tense of the verbs given in the brackets. First, by 9 o'clock, she will have been singing for 3 hours. In the same way, you have to do rest blanks by yourself. So kids, that's all from this chapter. Bye bye. Take care.